All right, April 28th. Let's go over the weekly preview. It's already Monday, so the market's already open and started its week of trading. We're going to start off with the S&P 500. It's been a little frustrating. Again, tactically, we'll even start the monthly this time. We're still, in an uptrend. We're still in a bull market. But as you can see in this chart, on this monthly chart, here's the low of 2009. We've been in a very steep uptrend, and how long this continues in this fashion here, who knows? I'm not going to say we can't continue to go in this straight up line, but you figure at some point, at least we'll get a couple months of sideways action or some sort of retracement. And the market hasn't really been, it's been actually a very defensive market. As we know, high beta stocks have been beaten up pretty bad. So we could be in the beginning stages of some sort of sideways action. And again, after a year like last year, 30-something% higher, not a big deal. Here in the weekly, this is a weekly chart. Again, nothing that is really too alarming in the S&P. Nothing that really, the trend line here is still intact. We're still in an uptrend. So, but things definitely feel a little differently than they did last year, or especially as we're making new highs, and all those high flying stocks were doing real well. But it's not a big deal. It's maybe 2 months ago that we were in high flying days. Now there's a little bit of a come upon. It's fine. It's something that should be embraced and not feared. Here's the daily chart. Again, here's a little bit of that. I'm going to draw a trend here, and shows us that the trend is still up. And so again, nothing to get really alarmed about with this type of action. One thing of note, though, I look at all these nice, pretty colors and stuff, and as we talked about last week, we had an MXRS extreme setup, and we had a nice bounce off of that, and then we had these red bars basically tell us that we had a little bit of an extreme to the upside. So, and sure enough, we had a bit of weakness even into today, starting mid of last week. So again, nothing unexpected going on here. The only issue that I've seen is just stocks to trade, and really, and that's just been a little frustrating. So not too many setups going on, and again, that tells you that you're better off sitting on your hands and not doing anything. Don't force anything. It has been a tricky market, even though we've had these bounces and whatever. Individual stock selection has been kind of spotty at best. So that's the S&P. Nasdaq, same thing. Had an we'll start off with the monthly still looks good, though we are lower than last month, so we definitely in some sort of a corrective state now on that longer term chart. Again, not that much of a big deal. With the uptrend still intact. Same thing with the weekly uptrend. I think this is actually where the steep uptrend seems to have been challenged here. Yeah, well, okay, we kind of bounced off that, so we're still intact. So we'll see. This may be the place to be buying some of these Nasdaq high beta stocks, especially the ones that have been taken out to the woodshed. But that will, will be determined what the situation actually comes. So here's the daily. Here was the nice reversal, and again, here's a red bar. Same thing. We showed some weakness. mid last week. What I would say weakness, just telling you that there was an extreme kind of move off the lows. So expect some, potential downside. And sure enough, we did get a pretty good downside. In fact, today we got a pretty. They actually hit it real well. We've come back a bit at this point. So, but the real thing here is Nasdaq still in the corrective state. That's what the situation is. So until it's not, I wouldn't be going out buying the Facebooks of the world or the Googles yet. Priceline. I want to say that the end is near. That these stocks will. Bottom at some point here. The thing is they just keep making lower lows and lower highs. One thing, there's definitely some divergence here, like the Nasdaq. The good thing about the Nasdaq, at least, is that so far we're higher. We haven't made a lower low, so that's a somewhat bullish sign here in the Nasdaq. Though, if you look at some of these high beta stocks, we have made a lower low today. So let me take a look and see if I got volume in here. I don't. So let me add some volume, because that may tell us if today may have been a capitulation, because some of these stocks have really gotten hammered today and have actually come back quite well. So that tells me that there should be some volume going on today. And sure enough, we got a very good volume day today in some of these stocks. Priceline. So that tells me today may be a capitulation day, that, just the people that have been riding this thing, and then just taking the pain of this going lower since really March, they just gave up today. And usually that's a bullish sign. So we'll see what transpires from here. Let's take a look at some other high beta stocks. Baidu, this is that Chinese internet. So this is actually hasn't made a lower low, so this is one of the ones that are a little bit stronger. Google has definitely made a lower low today. This has definitely been one of the weaker ones. And the problem with this one is, well, I don't see any volume today. I don't know why that is. We'll just update it like that. And so today, it doesn't look like there was a capitulation day volume-wise in Google, but we saw it in Priceline. Let's take a look at Facebook. These stocks, another one that's sort of gotten beat up today, last couple days. Let's see here. Twitter. So again, social media, they've been kind of making these lower lows. And the key here is in these stocks is that they're still making lower lows and lower highs. So I tend to want to stay away from those, because until that changes, you basically just trying to catch a falling knife. One thing that's has been really nice is Apple, and I kind of am embarrassed to say I missed today's move, just because I was looking for another day or two of sideways action. I was really looking for some sort of like a little bit longer of a pivot to buy off of, but you know what? This just goes to tell you, when things are so pent up and strong, I mean, you got to own it, especially off of Friday's high. I mean, it definitely gave you that opportunity. I didn't take advantage of it. Oh well, it is what it is. Maybe next time, lesson learned. But this is a classic, gap up, holds the gap real strong. Just, you're risking this, Thursday's low, which is like 460, and you're just buying it, and we're look at this, we're up 20 points. So, at the same point, I'm not going to give you any more excuses as to why I missed it. I missed it. So, but that's about it. I mean, Apple's telling you that it's not a high beta stock anymore. It's sort of changed into almost a value play. It's got a nice fat dividend now. They're buying back shares. It's one of those things that it's become like a Microsoft, but in a good sense, because it continues to go higher. So that's part one. I'll do part two here in a second.